particular road that needs no additional signage. But because we accepted this grant, we are gonna be held to those strengths. So my question goes to a water study. It was a sustainable water study that Governor Lynch had requested and was concluded, I believe, 2 years ago. Is there anyone here, I've read the report and was tremendously concerned with what came out of that study. Is there anyone here who can speak to that? Well, I would hope that in an official capacity would be very helpful. Okay, the pieces that I read that tremendously concerned me was that water, regardless of its source, belongs to the public. It doesn't matter if it is your artesian well or your dug well, but it is part of the aquifer that belongs to the entire community. And it was probably the biggest barrier that is now you're going to have to overcome is my constituency, again as a Republican, are very much against what you're doing because of the issues of the global warming, the sustainability, the directions in which you're taking, and none of you are elected. Having served as a selectman, appointing someone to the planning commission is a matter of, someone applies, it's the only person that, I'm sorry, please don't take this wrong, but it's the applicant that you have, and you accept that applicant. Clearly, those who apply are concerned with the environment. So the group of you are
You're in the same.
are all of the same mindset. It concerns the Republican base for which I support. So could someone from perhaps the chair might be able to get a succinct report on water sustainability commission that was established and get that to the legislators? Well, it hasn't been presented. It was handed to us on the finance committee as part of the,
It's not domain of the regional planning commission.
okay.
I don't know where, I know the commission, I know the study you're talking about, and that's about the extent of my knowledge.
Okay.
You know, I suspect that it could be the governor's office.
I have the entire report. It had some ongoing processes, and I guess I hope that someone in this group might have some updated information on that.
Okay. Do you have a response for this specifically?
I do. As a citizen of Merida and concerned about different functions that are going on, the water, property rights, I went to all these water sustainable commission
But do you know where the report can be found?
No, but I wanted to say that the thing that came from these meetings was that they wanted to take the water rights away from people who had wells. They want to put meters on the wells. They don't care about what the public says. And that's what came from that meeting, and that's what Mr. John Gilbert, who was the chairman of this committee, and everybody involved, that was the end game of the whole
Well,
thing.
he's not here to defend himself today.
Well,
so-
no, I'm
so-
just saying that as a
and
public person,
the issue
I
is
was there.
where can we find this report and especially as it's summary. And I think the governor's office is probably the best place to start. Representative Campbell.
Yeah, I've got a question related to your data collection. As you collect that data, you know, this is a bad bridge, my well doesn't work, or whatever that data you have, and I understand you're gonna use that as a comprehensive planning tool. But is there any way that that information in real time in its raw data form can be transmitted to maybe agencies that would wanna know this ahead of time versus, you know, waiting for your plan to come out and we'll have it all tied up in a bow, but in between, some of this information would be helpful to state agencies that deal directly with these problems, and is there a way to deal with that, transmit it? Is there a process? will there be, or can there be a process?
That's a great question, great idea. One of the pieces that we're working on, but it's not that real-time data collection, is we sat down as staff and looked at what are some of the basic points of data that are already available that we have, but haven't been aggregated.
When I say real time, I don't mean maybe the data come in, but can you
Yeah.
summarize it on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, get
Yeah.
it to it? Not, instead of what you're collecting it for, I think is a comprehensive planning
Yeah.
report, and by the time that comes in, it's embedded in a bigger report. Is there a way to get that data
Yeah.
to the right agencies, whatever it may be, you know, a historic bridge, a historic, monument in disrepair, whatever it might be.
Well, one of the things that we've been working on is the core metrics that we're gonna be measuring. And so we will be collecting it, we'll all be in one place so communities can actually click on and compare, you know, when communities are doing master plans and they need to compare, you know, growth rates or population or income or, you know, road mile, whatever. And we have a list of 50 things that we're collecting, and that's gonna be available to everyone before the report comes out.
Yeah.
But again, that's a database that
Right.
people can go into
Yep.
and use.
Yes.
What I'm suggesting is that data that you collect that will be useful to, especially maybe
Yeah.
towns and state agencies.
Right.
That you could say, here, you know, here's a quarterly report or, you know, weekly report on what we found out. Some of
Right.
that stuff may be,
Yeah. Oh.
may be rather
Okay.
important, sometimes
Right.
even critical. And the fact that it gets thrown into a big database doesn't make it
Right.
helpful to the community or the state on a ongoing basis, doing their duties.
So by and large, like the numbers-based data that we're using is, we're working with existing data as opposed to collecting new data. So, but perhaps, you know, the end that you're getting to is more that, the public comment, the less quantifiable, data, and that might be more. And those are, you know, we've got the Search Your Ideas database that anyone can search anytime. You can search by keyword, so you can plug in highways and see what comes up. And then there's the online forum piece. But yeah, I think, you know,
I
we
mean,
have
maybe
through our
well
committee.
issues that DES wants to know about,
Right.
there may be, you know, it's just things that,
Yep.
by the time you do your process, and people are
right.
interested in going to find it,
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily get out to the right people at the right time, who already have the duty of helping or
Okay.
fixing those things.
So that's something, maybe that's something, we have our committee structure, maybe that's something that we could work through our committee structure to kind of come up with what we can do there.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that at Concord, we've already done that. We've had over 1,000 respondents and over 2,000 comments, and we've categorized them into all the different topic areas. So you can come in and look at all the comments by topic and by location.
And I guess that's the last thing I was suggesting is, that's great that you do that,
But
then
now
can
get
it be
it out.
transmitted versus
Yeah.
having to be proactive and come in
Okay.
looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Other representatives?
Yes, I'm a representative. Hi, I'm a representative too. I want to kind of follow up on what Representative Borisman said, or she made a point. You're getting $3.37 million of federal funds here. Obviously, that's a one-time money, so I'm concerned about where your long-term funding is going to go. And the second thing, of that $3.37 million, which obviously has strings attached, you can only spend it on this planning stuff, and I think we could, if we got $3.37 million, it'd be better to put in the state budget. But aside from that, how much of that money is going to Granite State Futures versus actually going out to the regional planning groups?
So it's split 9 ways. So each regional planning commission is getting $300,000 to complete the plans. And then we had some expenses for the website and some common outreach. And then the National Regional Planning Commission has a little more to do the administration.
Sure. So how much is Granite State Futures getting as a dollar amount?
Well, I guess I'm not sure what your question is, because Granite State Future is really the name of our project.
Mhm.
So the whole project is
Okay,
it's
okay,
that
I
amount, and then it's
understand
being
now.
split out by each region is
Okay.
receiving
It's not-
over about $300,000.
It's not a separate entity.
Granite State Future is not,
It's not a thing.
entity, it's
It's
an
the name
initiative
of a
of the regional
project.
planning
Right.
commissions.
Okay.
And actually, I had this discussion earlier, it seems to be a common point of confusion.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Representative Cordelli, I just wanted to follow up on Representative Tucker's question a little bit with this HUD money. And that's been a concern to several of my constituents who've written me about it, and seems to be a point of contention in that some of the documents, I downloaded from your website and HUD seem to indicate that HUD is going to have substantial involvement in all this, that they have approvals of key personnel, plans, activities. They have the ability to halt stages of work before other stages can begin. Is there anything like that with maybe the national agreement with HUD? Maybe help clarify some of that.
Sure. Well, as you, I guess, would hope to expect from a large grant is that, yes, we have to make sure that we're accounting for the money. So HUD is involved in making sure we're doing what we said we were going to do. So that's the extent of their involvement. We have monthly, Jen and I, phone calls with them to report progress. They review all our invoices to make sure that everything is well documented, that we're spending money where we say we're spending money. And so that's the extent of their involvement. As far as the content of the plan, that is something that we generate from ourselves. That is up to us. They know very well that our constraints are New Hampshire law, and that's what we're operating under.
So if I could follow up, so they have no involvement in terms of any type of approval or criticism of plans that are developed by regional planning associations, no input to specifications or personnel or anything?
They will review. So for example, for personnel, they want to make sure that we're hiring highly qualified people. And that's the extent of that. For plans, as with any funder, you submit what your product is. They may comment on it, but actually they can't require us to change anything that's in our plans. They are allowed to review it, and as any funder would, but the sole content is developed by the regional planning commissions, and those are voted on by the commissioners present in each of the regional planning commissions.
Can I add something to the issue of HUD? Because I just have a link here, the affirmatively furthering fair housing. Section 808E5 of the Fair Housing Act requires the Secretary of HUD to administer the department's housing and urban development programs in a manner to affirmatively further fair housing, AFFH. HUD in large part carries out this obligation by requiring HUD grantees to affirmatively further fair housing through its emergency shelter grants, community planning and development, community development block grants, which is what we're doing.
No, actually, we don't have a community development block grant. That's not what we have.
What is it that you have that you're giving up money for?
Regional planning grant.
It's a regional planning grant.
Okay, well, hold on, maybe that's.
So,
Can I just jump in here?
Sure.
I'm Ray Gagnon from Claremont. Many years ago, when I was a city councilman, I was the representative to our planning commission or planning group. I found them, and I've always found them to be extremely cooperative, helpful, and transparent. I attended the session at the Concord restaurant this winter, and it was very, very enlightening, and it was very, very informative. And as an elected official, I got to talk and hear from regular folks in my region that I would never have known or never have heard of. So I, quite frankly, find this a little offensive. I think you are all very qualified, trained professionals who do a very good job. And I'm not familiar. I just don't understand this accusatory tactic, and I find it somewhat offensive.
It's not accusatory,
Oh,
sir.
look, I don't want to, we'll have
It's
to argue, maybe we can talk
Where does the
later.
voter come into this process? That's what I want to know.
Can we-
Where does the
can we
voter
please-
in the communities come into this process?
Excuse me, can we please maintain some decorum here?
And I would love to talk to you afterwards, Representative Cormier, regarding this, because I see you on the floor, and I think, geez, here's this very intelligent woman, and quite frankly, I don't understand
Let's not get into
your
this.
anger. So let's talk later, okay?
Passion, passion.
Let's talk later.
Thank you. Take it outside.
Very well said.
You want me to
Take it
respond
outside.
to the affirmative
Predetermined
fair
outcomes.
housing?
If you would like.
This actually is something I know about. This is an obligation under the Federal Fair Housing Act of 1968 that the government will affirmatively further fair housing. And that has a very large body of law backing it up, interpretations of HUD and of courts. And it extends to all levels of government, federal, state, local. It is the obligation of government not to discriminate. And HUD uses this funding as a way of checking in, say, are you complying with the law?
Is that a strength then?
Of course it's a strength.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is absolutely a strength, because it's the government maintaining accountability for the use of taxpayer money, which I think everyone would agree is a good idea. So I think to suggest that these strings, which are tied to laws adopted by Congress, are a bad thing, it's flabbergasted. Sorry, that, Representative Sophie.
Thank you. My question relates to, I think it was the third slide, connections, where we have state, regional, and local planning. And the regional planning commissions seem to echo, in a way, counties. Why was the structure set up outside of counties instead of sticking with that structure and building it into elected officials like commissioners that we don't necessarily get along with?
Can I say something, please? What we're here to do is try to give these people input on a project that they got funding for, that has been accepted by the state of New Hampshire. What I think is counterproductive is for us to be attacking the regional planning process, which some of us may have total different opinions about. But it does exist in statute. The way to deal for it isn't by attacking the people who work for regional planning, it's by adjusting the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
That was a very simple question.
Yeah, but it was a question to people who aren't really qualified to do it. We're the policymakers. Aren't we the policymakers? Right. We follow the Constitution and we make the policies. I just don't think it's fair to pepper these people with policy nuances, whether this should have been set up through the counties or through the regional plannings. I think it's a fair question. I just don't think this is the forum for it. I think we as elected officials have the ability to make laws to change the whole thing and debate that properly. I just don't think that it's productive here to go after the staff people who are really just carrying out a statute. I totally agree your question is legitimate. I just am uncertain this is the forum for it. I think we should try to help them with their project. If we don't agree with the project, that's okay. If we think we need to do something about it, we should introduce laws and debate them among ourselves as lawmakers. But I'm concerned that we're kind of hitting these people kind of hard on something that they're just trying to do their jobs, and that's. But this is part of
with the tab.
It's part of a process that is in place in state law. If we want to change the state law, we can do that.
Yeah, we're only following orders here.
Exactly.
Well, I guess I would say if, I would encourage the legislators that are present to participate in your regional planning process. That's really, you're asking where your voice will be heard, and that's where it will be heard. Please contact, if you're interested in participating, as little or as much as you would like. That's what I would encourage you to do, because that's where you will have the most impact, is at your regional level. I hope that if you have additional concerns or comments, that you would bring them up with your regions. The statewide is really just
coordinating. We're not telling anyone what to do. We're not telling the regions what should be in their plans. That's focused at each region. So I would encourage you to participate in that manner. And we appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming this morning. And if you have further follow-up for us, we'd be happy to do that after the meeting.
I want to address the question. I think it is an issue of history. It goes back to the 60s. It's a response of the legislature to what was deemed to be a need for regional planning at the time. The legislature chose to create regional planning commissions instead of empowering counties to do regional planning. I used to work in New York State where the counties do regional planning. That was 30 years ago, and they still do that. That's New York's choice. New Hampshire made a different choice, and that's I think the best answer we can give at this point.
Well,
Yes.
thank you very much. I think the information is going to be very, very useful when you get it out to us.
We do have another question.
And the board, and I've had great experiences working with regional planners that work in Concord, doing safe community walks for schools, complete streets. They were all very helpful. So thank you for your time.
Representative
I just wanted to make a comment, and actually, if possible, be the only person to address the questions that you asked. First of all, I appreciate the regional approach because having been raised in Coos County and now living in Rockingham in the middle of the 93, what was once a construction zone, which apparently has become a deserted site once again. So I lived both where there was almost no development and now at a nexus where with Route 3, the bridge to Route 3, the airport, the Route 93 expansion. I'm now living in a part of New Hampshire that's having burgeoning growth. And so we have the responsibility as a community to do our best to prepare for when those pressures come through. So what I'd like to learn from the regional plans is how Londonderry, for example, can coordinate our intentions and efforts with the neighboring communities, where we have those commonalities and where we might be standalone. If we have a single large project coming through known as Woodmont, over 200 acres, that's a Londonderry issue, but it's certainly going to impact towns in the region. So those, the important issues in my community are certainly the vitality of the airport, the access to the major routes, Route 3 and Route 93, and the opportunities for collaboration. I think this is the perfect place to do it. I think you're providing us a forum for every representative in here could have had an opportunity, had things been done differently, to respond to every one of those questions. And so this is my granddaughter from Maui. This is McKenna, who I told her was going to come to a really quiet, boring meeting. We'll have a little discussion on how meetings usually go after lunch. So thank you for having her there. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate the effort. I hope that we can focus on the benefits to all of the community and all of those involved, rather than the structure or the funding or who's going to watch at home. Actually, what can each state representative do for their constituents and moving us forward, because whether we're ready or not, the future is coming, and I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you so much.
I was told that there was another question.
I got a brief one.
Okay. I just want to check and make sure there are no other currently sitting reps who have.
Give him credit.
The
honorable.
Okay. He's on. The honorable.
I'd just like to follow up on Representative Flanagan's comment and was able to extract this string from HUD that we just talked about. I guess I'm concerned if there are others with any of the partnerships that HUD has, whether there are EPA strings, whether there are DES strings, DOT strings, those kind of things concern me. It also concerns me that, yes, we are interested in making sure our dollars are spent correctly from the federal level, but because they are our dollars. But we're also concerned that there's no de facto non-compliance. We have examples across the country of those fair housing rules being pushed aside or de facto non-complied with because of demographics of that population. My town is concerned that just by taking this grant money, they will be de facto in default or non-compliance of the alternative, of the affirmatively furthering fair housing statutes because of their demographics. And that is tremendously expensive for our community, and so if you could address that in any of your FAQs would be great.
It comes down to the dollars and who's taking the dollars. Your community hasn't accepted or received any dollars, so there is no direct impact or strings to your individual community.
Yes, they have.
Through this program.
Through this program? No. Not a single dollar went directly to a municipal budget.
Mr. You may be talking about a different program.
So,
I'd be happy to talk
so
to
we
you
have a
about
grant that we just applied for and received from Lakes Region Planning.
Okay.
Those are HUD dollars, right?
That's a different,
It's
I'd be happy to
different, yeah.
talk with you about that afterwards. It's a different program, not part of this initiative.
Well, I believe it came through this initiative.
No, in fact, it's a program that I administer, so I can say,
Great.
for a
Then
fact.
I will be- Thank you.
Okay, other questions from the public?
I'm not exactly public, but since I'm short, I'll stand up anyway. I'm used to being short, except when I'm in my kitchen. Anyway, I was looking at your cooperative agreement, and it shows that you're getting about another 1.2 million from someplace else. Where are you getting it from, and what strings come with it?
Is it the in-kind portion? We have, yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about, you'd have to show me.
So if you're talking about the match,
Yes.
speaking specifically to
Yes,
the budget, it's a
specifically.
variety of sources. We had a couple other small grants that we received that we're able to use to contribute towards that. We also have the time of volunteers that have agreed to participate in the process, both at the state level, both at the local level, and their time counts, it has value associated with it. And then each of the regional planning commissions had other sources of funding that they pulled together to contribute towards the process.
Okay, so some of the planning commissions are sending money back to this.
They're supplementing.
Match.
They're matching money.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Are there other questions from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what structures do you have set up when the grant money runs out and the people are left holding the bag?
Well, I'm not sure how much you know about the history of regional planning commissions, but in our region, the Nashville region, we've been in existence since 1959. Our budget is made up of a variety of different sources. Municipalities pay dues, which we use as match to grants, and we do a lot of transportation work, so we will continue to do that work. I guess I'm not sure what we will continue to exist after the grant, is that what you're asking?
What sources of funding after the grant money runs out?
Each RPC is funded differently, but in general, we receive dues from municipalities. We have contracts and grants from a variety of sources.
So the money from the municipalities, where do the municipalities?
Hey Glenn, what's up?
The municipalities pay from their budgets,
Okay, and where did the budget money come from?
the taxpayers.
So why is the normal process being circumvented? Why don't you go to a town meeting? Why don't you go directly to the people instead of having these fake listening sessions?
Excuse me, ma'am, you're
If you
asking
would like
about the
to-
budget.
Yeah.
The municipalities appropriate money for different tasks.
So what I'm asking is, what happens when all of this grant money dries up and the people have lost their liberty? Where is, when the unelected officials make decisions about what's gonna happen with whatever, with what all of this that you're doing to the state of New Hampshire and to the people of the state of New Hampshire? I'd like to know, where is the source of your funding
Okay, see if you can get another one.
I didn't hear
Maybe
her.
10
She
bucks.
said from a councilman, from a
It's gone,
council, from a,
it's
where
gone.
did you say
Town
the money
budgets-
is gonna come
ma'am,
from?
Town budgets voted.
I'd like it from her,
I am
Mr.
chairing this meeting.
Contact the other.
Well, I thought you were asking me that you told me that she answered it.
Yes, and I'm chairing this
Well,
meeting.
what did she say? Can she answer it?
I'm not gonna.
Could you please be polite?
Well, I'm sorry, but this is very upsetting.
The sore throat.
But I just want to know, where is the money going to come from when all of this grant money dries up? What is going to happen to the people of the state of New Hampshire?
There's a point I'd like to make.
Oh,
This is funding for a project.
breaking down.
When the project is done and the money is spent, it's over.
Daughters say they go.
There's no
Is
further.
that all of these planning things are going to go away?
Please talk.
So I think it's our information.
When the money is spent, the project is done, there's no further
Oh,
financial
yeah.
obligation.
Well, they're pushing for
The regional
mediation.
planning commissions do have a statutory obligation to continue to
All right,
do
I'm in the
regional
middle of a meeting,
planning.
I just stepped out.
And they will have to
Let me know what
do it as they
happens, and
have
I'll-
done for the past 50 years.
All right.
Find other
Take care.
sources of money.
Fine.
If the towns are willing to pay for that, that's fine.
But it was my understanding that the reason that you went for grant money is because you had no source of funding.
Just turned my ringer back on.
So what
And
is
so-
going to happen in the future
And
when the
yet-
grant
Who are you
money
recording
dries
for?
up?
And yet the regional planning commission did
Public.
regional planning for those
Ran across.
50 years.
No.
This was simply an opportunity to do something different, better, to engage
But the
with
government
these-
is broke, so where did the grant money come from?
Well,
So if there's no
I'm not
money,
gonna
there'll be
answer
no
that.
planning, and then some
So-
people will be very happy.
So, any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
The regional planning commissions are political subdivisions of the state of New Hampshire. According to RSA 3649-A and RSA 36.45 states the purpose of the RPCs is to promote the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the region and its inhabitants. Please provide a list of any and all plans, programs, actions, or initiatives undertaken by the RPCs to promote the morals of the region and its inhabitants.
Thank you for coming. That is a matter of local interpretation. Morals, you see the same language in the zoning enabling statute, and I'm not sure that zoning necessarily creates morals. But I think that is something that you could consult each RPC and ask that question.
Is that moral? Is the morals I'm asking
I'm not gonna,
about?
I'm not, that is a choice by the legislature to put that word in that statute as it did with the planning and zoning statutes. Why the legislature put it in there, I can't say. When I do planning and zoning work, I'm not necessarily thinking about the morals. I'm thinking more about economic development, I'm thinking about housing, I'm thinking about the environment, I'm thinking about property. Is that a moral issue? Perhaps.
Follow-up question. The moral issue, I think, stems into the health of the individuals in the town. And the program HEAL is sort of coming into the towns and promoting the health.
That's why we're
So
paying big money.
that is, why are they coming in to promote this? When we have our own health here? You're saying we're supposed to look at the long-term benefits. Why do we need that initiative?
The HEAL initiative is a separate initiative. And as far as I know, the HEAL is participating in communities that ask for HEAL to do.
I know, but it's $20,000.
And it's also privately funded. It's not funded by the government.
This group is now dissipating, we're well over time. I think there are, some people will stick around to talk individually, but I'd like to adjourn this meeting.
I just want to make one more statement. As a person, as a public person, there are many citizens here at all. I would like to say that I have been Well, no, you're elected, you're an elected official. But there's not much input from the public. Right, but also the public is like,
Because the public wouldn't want it if the public knew.
what I wanted to say is, I have been to many of these New Hampshire listening sessions, which Dr. Mallory planned. And inside all these sessions, I have been to 6 of them. There is no public input. They're all planned. They're all premeditated. And there is minimal amount of people from the public.
Therapy. They need shrinks, yeah. You know what, when you say sustainability, no. When you say sustainability, you know what I think sustainability is?
In
Well,
these sessions.
then stand up and talk, and say these people are
That
nuts.
really concerns me.
When they have an objective about objective,
Of course there are strings attached to them. If you're going to allow Section 8 housing in your town, in your community, there are strings attached. And why are those strings attached? Those strings are attached because of idiots. No, yeah, these people have done racist acts. They have acted in
Not my time.
in this country.
Not
In
my
this
time.
country.
How you doing?
That's why HUD has those rules. You right?
Not in my time.
You know, if we don't like a certain ethnic group in Claremont, we say they can't come into housing, that's illegal.
How come in my time? I
Now,
have
wait a
to
minute,
build-
furthermore.
No, you're not gonna let me have
Yeah,
to.
I wanted to ask you a question because
came
you
in
said
so
you started
late.
talking about sustainability.
I
How
have-
do you describe
do have a
sustainability?
It's whatever my town decides to have what
John
sustainability. It wouldn't be someone from here saying, we're gonna put water meters on your well.
See, I see
By the way,
sustainability as
when
a-
they had
as
those
part of the
hearings
planning process of
on
whatever it is,
135, I
is
did
in
record
coming
those,
up
but
with
I
an
only
idea on how
posted them
to
privately. I'm
sustain
thinking
that
about
project.
opening
So
it
how
up
do
to
we,
the public.
100 years ago, the word sustainability didn't
Public hearing.
all of a
This is
sudden now,
incredible,
we
isn't
have to have
It's
sustainable.
incredible, isn't it?
Yes,
Who's the
because quite
representative behind
frankly,
you?
no, quite frankly, a lot of people are
Emily?
saying, well, we're not going to invest the money unless you show us a way that it's going
This
to
one here?
be sustainable. It's going to
He's not a
continue.
representative?
You know,
We
we
got a
play that
law.
game.
Where did he get his
Law
education?
in the books that says no, I mean, there's no specific number. It is
I mean, a
no
5-year-old would know
based
better
on
what
bad
their rights are.
cases. But we're going into a neighborhood or a town saying, you
Those are
have
the
to
kind we
build
need to
these
get
that
rid
are
of.
allowed to be built, even though.
Because we have workforce housing?
Why
Because that was
would
the
you,
state, because that is what
you
Campbell
let
was
me
talking
finish.
about,
Let me
is those are state
Let me
policy
finish.
issues.
Okay, but see, the reality is if somebody is smart enough in their town and says, my fireman can't live in my town, let's build this house, great.
Good, how are you
Now we have a
today?
law in the books that say you have to do it.
We have a law in the books in regards to workforce housing.
Believe me, I know, I'm real familiar about
voted
workforce
for
housing. No,
We,
you
the
did,
legislature,
not me.
we, the legislature, have elected
Thank you.
Did you
get my message about,
Would you believe that a planning board has to take into respect to the surrounding towns when they do their planning?
Bloomberg has hired the bus mayor. That was my first story.
Britain versus Chester, okay? The court said that you on your planning board has to worry about my
And
housing in the towns over.
push for Senator Kelly
I'm sorry.
reprimand her. So I sent an
Just in the
email.
town, yeah, he's off of Route
I
101.
sent an email to Jack
I mean, it's no
Kimball.
different than.
Okay, I've been getting hit.
We're playing, so we got four houses.
I had your email. Did you get an email from me?
Not sure.
Queenie? Okay, then I don't have your email right. I don't have it correct. Let me write it. Martha.
Happy to give advice.
How are you? I didn't know what I was saying, I just said, I just asked, where'd the money come from? What's gonna happen when people lose all their rights? Where's the money?
You know, it's almost like getting a department store flyer. They're pushing it on you without,
You know what it
and
reminded
nobody
me
ran out
of?
and looked for it.
You know what it reminds me of? When Nurse Ratched, they're all a bunch of Nurse Ratchets. And they're making us into the crazy ones, and they're saying, here, take this pill, we know it's good for you. Now, we've decided that it's good for you, now you take it. And then they're gonna get us, our families and everybody else to pay for it while they get rich. And they're not gonna pay for anything.
Like, okay, you're
about
free,
the
you want to be
idea?
on the planet, okay, you want to serve on this, go
Number one,
ahead.
they're not hearing
Right, come on.
about it.
Now, that's throwing all tax
I
money
know how it
within the
works.
state borders and turning off the lemon federal government.
Sitting member of the city council.
Well, you know what, that's what they tried to do up in Pittsburgh, the independence. Have you
But
ever
the whole
heard of
state
it?
has to do
That's
that.
how it used to be.
They didn't send in federal troops.
That has deteriorated.
Civil War, the South already tried
We're gonna
that.
put this guy, we're gonna put this guy, we're gonna put somebody else on that.
I like the idea,
Watering down.
but people wouldn't go for it because, you see, what part of this whole scam is,
Stuff like that. If you don't have planning in your town, so if you
they've
have
destroyed the
no zoning, no
economy
planning,
with this free trade by sending all the technology, everything's made in China, then you get NAFTA and GATT, so everything, all the jobs, everything is outside of the United States. And so people are struggling, even up in the North Country. How did they survive? People that have state jobs, union jobs, like the teachers, because they get paid well. If you're an average person, the teachers get really paid well, all the public sector workers. The rest, they're on SSI, they get social, they get disability for their kids. They're all getting handouts from the government because there's not, and the biggest joke was she said economic development, that the government, there was economic development, are they kidding? There's no economic development. We had economic development in this country and they've ruined it. They've sent it all to China and it's free trade. So everybody is dependent on the
I
government.
don't understand what I interpret as anger from you.
Passion.
Let's call it passion. I don't quite understand.
Well, when people are put in there as a plant to kind
It's
of
okay,
aggravate.
it's okay, be nice, it's okay.
Don't get angry. Don't
I'm
get
a
angry.
plant? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying you're a plant?
Ask your question, I'm happy to answer your
Yeah,
question.
just write down MR.
MR, small m?
Yep. Underscore.
Yeah. To me, it's just.
Ranger.
Oh, I don't have this one. No wonder you're not speaking specifically.
1957
No, I'm talking about this particular issue.
at yahoo.com.
Mistrust and this process.
I just don't think the federal government has done such
So
a great
MR,
job
lower,
in
Ranger,
being above board and being honest with
1957
its
at
people.
Yahoo.
And I think
Yeah.
that state
I
and
just have
county
to find out
government
when he's
should
coming.
have elected
Yeah.
representatives.
Coming, it's starting on the 14th.
Not people
So
that are
I think they'll
appointed.
come from New York
people
down
make
this
their own
way and go
plans?
out, or maybe they may go out and make this their last stop, I'm not sure. But I emailed Jack and I said, we really need to have a lot of people
Our rules.
when
You're
they
aware of
come.
what Governor Hasson's been up to, right?
No, that's that?
About the non-resident concealed carry, which certainly would affect us.
Oh, no, I didn't
That's
hear
on
that.
Jack's website.
Absolutely.
It's what?
It's on Jack's website.
Oh, okay. What is she doing? What does she want to do? Make an executive order?
Policy, but treating it as though it's law.
Let's think of a way to.
You can't do
With
that.
the fishing
That's
game,
illegal.
I think no, the safety department, that's what they're trying to do, it's really, it's off the law.
Through the transportation.
It hurts me so much,
That was
that
right.
I said it hurts me so much, that I'd like to contact
What I've done for
Maryland
things,
Sheriff's
and this is the only reason I ran.
That's the basic.
And it's, and
You should.
Was because
We
what
should
I
have all the sheriffs together.
I think a lot of this is coming from executive
I see my sheriff about every Wednesday at the county,
think that
cartel
that is
commissioners meeting.
I asked
Our
my
legislative
I
process
disagree.
is supposed to be for Congress,
And
there's a
there
lot
is
to that.
absolutely a
And,
hierarchy.
Laconia.
Oh, my niece
That was
said
his
that
name.
it's
I can't
supposed to
remember
come
his name. I went
out
up
of
to him after one of
the treasury.
the
Where is all
I
this
said to him,
grant money
And
coming
it's-
from?
it's
It's coming out of the executive,
budget.
it's out of the
It's
executive.
understand?
the executive branch, but out of the
Yeah,
budget.
you against
After
it for
appropriations.
this bill?
It is,
You know, when
and
it
so there's a
passes,
specific law in Congress
Discussed on the
where
floor.
we're
they're
not,
separate.
we're not
Appropriating X amount of dollars to the
We're
executive
against
department.
The people are the
So
ones that get
it's
to
not
say what the policy is,
specifically
not
a
the
law
policy.
that's
would want
addressing
to
usurp the
this.
person's power.
It just goes into
That's up to
HUD,
Right.
and then HUD.
forget about it, maybe get him in, I
It's
don't
very
know.
dangerous.
Okay, that's
Are
fine.
you, wait a minute, let me ask, are you saying we as
very
the
dangerous.
elected body are passing laws that we're not
who we
connecting
I'm saying
water
we
people.
should be passing the laws. I'm saying that these things are being put into effect in our communities without being passed as
why
laws.
don't they come from
This process,
Congress then?
let me play this out.
It's not
Let me
from
play this out.
Congress.
This is a
I think the executive
statewide, this is a statewide plan, right?
Sometimes
To
within your own
to gather
legislature.
But it's
information.
not.
They gave
It's a
it,
federal plan that is using.
From the executive branch.
It is federal
Individuals
dollars
that may
to the
know
state of New Hampshire
From the
to
executive
nine
branch.
planning
Within their district.
to go around and come up with data and information that will help you and
As
I,
far as I
as
know,
elected officials,
Right.
be
being
making
sheriff, you're not
decisions
really
on
required.
policy
And it
and
sounds
laws.
good, it sounds very
Extensive
good, but you
law
know what, when you
Why,
look at
where
it,
is that not happening?
because that is not going,
I
that is
don't
not
know
being
to what
born
level
out of the
that,
people
you know,
that they're supposed to
the
serve. Those
community
wonderful
requires.
policies are
Or
not
whether or not
coming
they-
from the people, they're coming from the top. and they
Executive
push
branch.
on those down. That's why it's inverted, sir. That's why we as reps should fight that every chance.
We're saying, okay, so.
Top down is never works.
We're-
See y'all
how is
later.
that top down?
Have a great
Because
day.
the government is through the money carrot offering these policies is what your town or Concord state should do.
You know, they're saying to the state of New Hampshire, to these non-planning commissions, whose job is to deal with plans. That's
And
their
of course, they
function,
can't
that's their
have a level
purpose.
streak up their back either.
With input hopefully from the people that they plan for.
Yes, so they go out and they hold listening sessions where everyday folks from the community come and provide input and determine.
Can I just
That's what happened in my town.
Can I ask?
I went to
Someone
my
take,
town.
does that take
Can
camera
I,
money?
can I just ask a question? If it is so important, then why do they have to get a federal grant? Why doesn't it come out of
Because the state
legislation
of
in
New
the
Hampshire
state of
is,
New
the
Hampshire?
state of New Hampshire doesn't fund these things.
Why doesn't it?
Because we choose
I was over
not to.
Walmart.
Why don't
I
they?
have a
Because
little
look at the budget that we
but I
just
bought
passed
one
2
of
years
these.
ago.
But
We
if it's
believe in dismantling, we have a mindset right now to dismantle and to weaken government to the point that
But
it's
if it was
counterproductive.
important, if it was important enough, why wouldn't we see it? Why wouldn't there be, why wouldn't people support it? With money, support money.
I think people do
But
support
the
it.
money is not coming from the state of New Hampshire, it's coming from the federal government, the executive branch.
Let me finish my discussion. You asked a very fair question.
Did you listen to
and I
it?
think
I
that
can
I
listen.
understand why you.
Oh my God,
I'm not on that channel, I go on the internet to get it.
Yeah, well, see, I just have dialogue, so I don't do that.
It's
but-
difficult.
Yeah, but I was
It's
so
that the
stunned
state's
with
rights
that.
are the single most important thing that the citizen has.
And I
And every
learned so
time we
much
take
too.
in a monstrous
It's
thing
just
that
listening
is
to him, and I'm always on his
brought
side
up by
anyway,
the
so.
federal government, we weaken our state's rights, and that is why I believe what I believe.
But as,
That's my
you know what, and there's some truth to that. I mean, in the big picture of what you're saying, there's some truth to that. I can concur with that. However, as this specifically, this is a pool of money that's coming to these 9 commissions to come up with, and it has a start date
Yeah, I
and
went
an
to
end
those.
date.
I saw you read a lot of those, and NADA, I was here for NADA, I spoke about NADA. Were you there for that?
I read the material they gave us.
Right, and you know, and that material, you're right, and you're spouting from that material. My suggestion is, and you know
Keep
what,
close
they don't have
attention to the, you know,
rather than just
hearing
kind of say, well,
schedules
they're
and
just
such
saying,
to,
I just want my
also,
government
you know,
to be
finances always prevent me a lot of times from attending because
that get this.
when I went to Chantilly last year on the way home
They get
from
to
the
do all this
motorcycle,
powerful
I
stuff.
struck a deer about 2 miles from the house. I
No
came back
constituents being able to say no.
home, broke 5 ribs and fall.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't been back to work since because
Wow.
I'm feeling on a mission.
Who is Tim Curry?
With this.
Tim Carter's a citizen.
Wow, how do you
He's not in
survive?
government, he's not a,
I don't collect
you know,
nothing.
a politician.
John, how do you survive?
He's the guy, he's actually a construction guy, and he's a good patriot.
I'm aware of it
He's
now.
spent years documenting what's going on.
I'm going to a meeting. I gotta ask
You know what, I just figured out,
I will read it.
Thank you.
When
You know what, I was gonna follow up with her question.
There is a,
That money.
there is a, and I was saying to Representative, first order of business, right? And I know that you're not from the South here.
Well, that's it, because, yeah, well, that's it. So you know what the whole thing
Very
is?
successful.
We have a
They're,
system set up
they're doing
by
very well. Their economic
the
base
town meeting,
are
the people
working.
go, and people participate,
So I can
okay?
see where they
Now,
were
we have
saying,
elected
oh, yeah.
representatives in
However,
the
for
state
those of us
office.
who live
Now, they have
in
decided
more rural
that
areas,
they will not
outside of the
Regional Planning Commission,
the
whatever.
concept
The
of
state of New
collaboration,
Hampshire has
the
decided
concept
their
of
elected
working
representatives
together
are not funding
between
this.
towns.
Sure, so this is the people of the state of
Right.
New Hampshire basically who have decided that they don't want it. What has happened is,
You see
the federal government through the executive branch, through these administrative agencies, is using federal grant money from a ominous source, saying, here, take this federal money.
But let me
But the
say this.
people of the state of New Hampshire are just like,
I believe there's more than one state.
We've done it by putting
has
policies in
outlined
place that
any
affect
control.
but that affect zoning,
about what? That's Alabama.
You're saying the zoning is
They're
bad?
completely
I'm
outlined.
saying that zoning does not have to go through a special bureaucracy. Zoning can go through
I don't care about, I
town,
care
local.
about what, I know that how they're doing it is regional.
Not necessarily, not anymore.
But you see, do you see how important that is?
I have
That's
it.
what we have, oh, did you want to ask him something?
No,
And Rosemary, do you realize that that's how important
All
it
right.
is that we need
Thank
to
you.
ask